The tango of midnight, the streets of Buenos Aires, came alive when the sun fell. The city pulsed with music, its veins filled with the rhythm of the heartbeat of tango. Beneath the glowing street lamps, couples moved as though time itself bent to their step slow, burning, aching with passion. For Mateo Alvarez, 36-year-old writer, tango was only something he observed from the shadows. He had spent years trying to capture the city's spirit in his novels, yet every page felt hollow. His nights were long, filled with blank paper and the echo of his own loneliness. Until the night he wandered into El Rojo, a tango club tucked away in San Telmo, where stories were not written with ink, but with bodies entwined in dance. The encounter, the club smelled of wine and wood polish. The stage glowed under golden light, where musicians played with eyes closed, lost in melodies of longing. The floor was crowded with dancers, their movements sharp yet fluid, telling tales of desire, heartbreak, and defiance.
Mateo ordered a glass of Malbec and retreated to the corner, notebook in hand, as always.
But his pen stopped when he saw her. She stepped onto the floor in a crimson dress, her hair tied back with a single black rose. Her movements were not just steps, they were poetry. Each sway of her hips, each flick of her heel, each sharp pivot told a story Mateo couldn't look away from.
The man dancing with her tried to lead, but she owned the floor, commanding every glance, every breath.
When the song ended, she bowed slightly, her dark eyes glimmering with mystery. Their gazes met, and in that instant, Mateo's chest burned with something he hadn't felt in years.
The first dance later that night, as he prepared to leave, the woman appeared at his table.
"You don't dance?" she said in a voice smooth as velvet, accented by the streets of Buenos Aires. Mateo chuckled nervously. "No, I only write." She tilted her head. "Words can move hearts, but so can steps. Would you like to try?" Before he could protest, she took his hand. Her touch was fire, pulling him onto the floor. "I don't even know your name," he said. She whispered, "Now shut your mind. Listen to the music." "Da bandoneon," crayed the bass pulsed. Mateo stumbled, awkward and unsure, but S' hand on his back guided him like an anchor. She pressed close, her breath warm against his neck. "Tango is not about steps," she murmured. "It's about connection. One body speaking to another." Somehow, his feet followed hers. And when the song ended, he realized his heart was racing, not from embarrassment but from desire. Tango nights from that night on, Mateo returned to El Rojo, and each night was there, waiting. They danced until dawn, until the streets grew quiet and the sky turned pale. Between dances, they shared wine and stories. Mateo spoke of his failed manuscripts, of words that refused to come alive. Laughed softly, telling him, "You think too much with your head. Tango comes from the blood, the bones, the soul. Maybe your writing should too." She told him little of herself. A dancer? Yes. But her life outside the club remained a shadow. Mateo didn't press. Mystery clung to her like perfume, intoxicating. One evening, after an especially fierce dance that left them both breathless, she leaned close. "Every tango tells a story. What story did you hear tonight?" He looked into her eyes, dark and endless. "Ours," he whispered. She smiled, but there was sadness in it, fire and fear. Their passion grew. When they went dancing, they walked the cobblestone streets of San Telmo, sharing empanadas, laughing under in a small apartment, walls painted with old posters of tango legends. Their nights turned to fire kisses that devoured, embraces that left them trembling. Yet even in the heat of love, Mateo sensed something elusive. Never spoke of her past, never let him glimpse beyond the dancer he knew at night. Sometimes, when the music ended, her eyes carried a sorrow deeper than silence. One night, as rain poured against the windows, Mateo asked gently, "What are you afraid of?" Lay against him, her fingers tracing his chest. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, softly, "The dance always ends. No matter how beautiful, how passionate it cannot last forever." Mateo kissed her hair, whispering, "But while it lasts, it's everything." The performance a month later, invited him to a grand tango festival in La Boca. The theater was filled with the city's best dancers, and when she stepped onto the stage in a dress of midnight black, the crowd fell silent. Mateo watched, heart pounding, as she danced with a passion that seemed to tear her open. Each movement was sharper, deeper, as if she were burning her soul into the floor. The music rose, fierce and desperate, and became more than human. She was the embodiment of tango itself. Love, loss, fire, and fate. When the final note struck, the audience erupted, but Luque stood still, her chest heaving, eyes glistening with unspoken tears. Mateo knew, without words, that this was her farewell. The goodbye that night, they walked along the empty streets, hand in hand. The city felt quieter than usual, as though holding its breath. Mateo, she said softly, I have to leave. He stopped, his grip tightening. Leave? Why? There are debts, shadows from my past. I cannot stay here. If I do, they will consume me. His chest ached. Then let me come with you. Shook her head, tears shining. No, you belong to words, to stories. You will write again, I know it. But me? She touched his cheek. I belong to the dance, and the dance doesn't let me stay. They kissed one last time beneath a flickering It was not a kiss of promise, but a farewell of burning memory pressed into eternity. And then she was gone. The tango of memory. Weeks passed. Mateo returned to his empty apartment, to his blank pages. But this time, when he picked up his pen, words flowed not from the mind, but from the blood, from the fire had given him. He wrote of her, of their nights, of the way every step had told their love story. He wrote of passion that burned and vanished, yet left its mark forever. His novel, The Tango of Midnight, became his most celebrated work, and though it was gone, every word carried her heartbeat. Whenever he passed by El Rojo, he would pause, listening to the spilling into the night. In the shadows, he sometimes thought he saw her the curve of a crimson dress, the flash of eyes that once burned into his soul. But even if she was only a memory, Mateo knew the truth. Some dances end, but the story remains eternal.